Early Sunday morning, once again, very warm, really sunny. Fortunately, that wind's got back up. And today I'm going to do some onions, but I'm going to do them two different ways. I also might have to take this one indoors, so I don't want the wind noise over this video all the way through it. We've got those main crop multi-sown onions. So what I've decided I'm going to do is I'm going to plant some multi-sown, and then I'm going to separate some and just plant those as single onions and see what difference it makes to the size that we get. So once again, there's caravan wash bowls with holes drilled in bottom. We're going to put one bunch in the centre, and I think there'll be plenty of compost in there to get those going and get some decent sized onions as well. It's a bit more space than you'd need if you were planting them in ground, so we'll see if they'll grow happily together, push each other apart, and maybe we could still get some decent sized onions from a very small area. And the ones that I'm separating are going in here, so we'll carefully separate those onions because onions don't like the roots being messed around with too much. I'm going to plant a couple of rows into this trough, and once again I've drilled lots and lots of holes in this container. You don't want your onions sitting in water or they'll rot. So we'll get these filled up, and I'm going to put quite a good amount of fish blood and bone in every container because onions are also heavy feeders. So we'll make sure we get that sorted out straight away. I may have to film in this area just to avoid that wind. It's a storage part, and there is a little bit of space in there for us. Before we do anything, we need to get these filled, get that feeding. And I'm using that Westland compost once again, breaking all those lumps up as I go, although this stuff is not as bad as the other. Now that's been part filled, we'll add that feed. We'll give that a good mix, and then we'll fill this to the top. And that nutrition is going to last quite a while. And then I'll do exactly the same with these caravan wash bowls. As you can tell, I've decided to bring it indoors anyway. That wind is far too noisy, and it just so happens that Ginny's nipped into town for a couple of hours, so I can get this done, cleaned up, before she gets back and sees what I'm doing. So let's get these onions planted. We'll start off with the easy one, and that is basically just putting one in the centre of here, and hopefully they'll spread out as they grow and we'll still get decent sized onions. So I'm just going to carefully take one of these plugs out, and we can see roots are at the bottom already. Trying not to drop compost everywhere, but I have put a covering over this dining table, so I'm just going to make an hole in that centre. I'm dropping that plug in to the same depth that it came out. I can see that there's already onions trying to form, and I can actually smell onions. And although this doesn't look very impressive, it's the end result that we're interested in. So we're just going to leave it at that. We'll water them in outside, and then we'll see what happens with this one. And then the exact same thing with this container. Nice bunch of multi-sown. Just make sure you squeeze bottoms of these packs before you take them out, which are liable to pull onions out. Just give them a little squeeze, they'll come out quite easily. And this one has got some really good roots on it, so that's a good one to get in here. So in, pressing it down, same level, and as easy as that. That's 2 containers of onions done. The next bit is slightly more tricky. So to start off with, once again, we need to get the plug out. And this time we're going to separate them. Hopefully that's not going to affect the growth, because they are doing really well as they are. So basically I'm just going to carefully break up that compost, and then I'll shake the excess away. And you can see there we've got some nice little onion seedlings. So very carefully separating those roots. Onions don't like the roots being disturbed too much, so we do have to be careful with them. But they've all got a really good root system on them. And I'm going to pick and choose amongst these to just get the biggest ones, and any others that's left I'll plant somewhere else. Another really nice one there. I think we might have enough onions here to do a couple more of those caravan wash bowls as well, so I'll probably do that with whatever's left. I know we're not going to get massive onions out of this container, but we need to allow enough room to get to a decent size. So I'm just going to mark areas like that. That gives us quite a good sized onion, but with still room to expand, and giving them a little bit of space as well in between each, as well as the edge. Hopefully you can see this. I couldn't find anything else to use, so I'll go with what I've got as always. So marked out like that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 onions in that section. So straight across from those onions, we'll just do the same, leaving a little bit of room between end and edge. And I'll guarantee that nobody's ever seen anybody plant onions using a tuber mastic before. We do like to be different on this channel. So that's this template all done, and you can see round about what size onions that we are looking for. Then all I need to do is use a pencil and make an hole in the centre, deep enough to get those little seedlings in. You could just push them in normally, but we're trying to get good sized onions in as small a space as we can. Just make sure you allow for roots when you're doing this, because you don't want to be breaking those roots off or not fully pushing them in. But we can help it along again with the aid of this pencil. So that's that part done as well. Now we can start and get those onions put in. So these are already starting to split off, so they're well on the way. So I'm just going to very carefully lay that onion on top and then feed those roots in. And then we'll push it down just a little bit. That's the tricky bit, not breaking the roots off after you've done that part. So pushing it down just a little bit, and then we're going to stand it back up. So that's one in there, and it's at the same depth that it came out as well. So then we just need to carry on doing the same thing. If you turn them, it'll help coil that root into that hole like that. And then you can just push all that in one go. Then pinch it together and stand it up. And if these onions fall a little bit after you've done this, it's just a little transplant shock. They will recover. So just a little twist, poke that root in. Going to be a little fiddly when you first do it, but you will get used to it. Firm it down, stand it back up. We also do this with onion sets as well, and they've worked out quite well in past. So if I can get some more onion sets, because I had to leave the last lot behind, then I'll set up another container with onion sets in. That's 4 in already. So I'm going to carry on, get this filled, and then we've got as container onions all set up. Well, there we go, only a few minutes later and we've got all those onions in place. And as I said before, they don't look much at the moment, but they'll soon start and put on that extra growth and keep splitting off on those stems as they get thicker. And they've got plenty of room to get the roots down, even though onions are quite shallow rooted. So I think that's going to work out fine. And we've already got that feed in there to keep them going for quite a while. And there were a couple of onions left over, but I ate those because I just love the taste of onions. So that's another addition to this caravan container garden. 2 containers of multi-sown onions. And then this large trough that we singled out. And it's going to be interesting to see as these onions grow, which container does the best, which produces the bigger onions. And if they're around about the same, that means we can get more of those caravan wash bowls and plant up lots of them, knowing we're still going to get really good results. And if I do come across any onion sets, we'll use one of those containers and we'll put onion sets in it, and then we've got something else to compare to. If you're interested in seeing what else we're going to be doing inside and outside this caravan container garden, then please hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy your Sunday afternoon, and hopefully where you are it's not quite so windy. Take care.